StarCast episode 134 for Thursday, January 10th, 2013 is going live in 3, 2, 1. StarCast is proudly sponsored by DoghouseSystems.com. If you use the code StarCast or Biscuit at checkout, you will get double memory on your next Doghouse system. And also TweakedAudio.com. Go to TweakedAudio.com for high-performance noise-reducing earbuds. Use our code StarCast and get 30% off plus free shipping on your entire order. And finally, SC2QuoteOfTheDay.com. Daily quotes from the StarCraft 2 community. The site may suck, but the quotes are sick. And make sure to go check out their t-shirts in their new store. Once again, that's SC2QuoteOfTheDay.com, and we thank them for their support. Sponsor an episode of StarCast at thestarcast.com.
Hell, it's about damn time for StarCast.
Incoming transmission.
Biscuit.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 134 of StarCast, the StarCraft podcast, the first episode of 2013. I'm Garrett Weinzierl, and with me, as always, is Kyle Ferguson. How you doing, Kyle?
Doing quite well. Coming back from our big break. Took an extra week off because, well, Garrett, you got ill.
I got really, really sick.
But we have rescheduled that interview with our bot, so don't worry, that is coming in the future.
Yeah, that'll be end up being episode, I think, 136, because next week we have Achilles coming on, who writes for EG, and a friend of the show. So yeah, after that, we're going to have Jonathan from Carbot Animations on.
But this is a very exciting first show of the year. Not only do we have an awesome interview, but we have a beta patch that came out, which I have pet named TANKSgiving, or Read It and Reaper.
Oh, you with your punnies.
Yes. It might be a grave mistake, huh? You see the Reaper thing there? But we're all just raving about it.
Are you done? Can we get on with the episode?
Please continue.
Okay. Way better and more exciting than anything that just came out of Kyle's mouth is the guest we have for you guys today. Joining us, technically for the first time ever. Oh, I'm getting a lot of echo all of a sudden. What is going on? Do I have a stream open? I do not.
Is it me?
I think your microphone might have changed or something. I'm hearing a bunch of...
I just unmuted it. Why would that be?
Oh, that's very... I don't know. That's very odd.
Maybe I'm listening to it. Let me see.
Possibly.
No, I'm not listening to my microphone. I'd be able to hear myself, obviously.
Huh, I don't know. Well, we'll just sally forth and hopefully it'll just go away.
And blame it on Skype.
Yes, yeah, I blame Skype for everything. So, that was the worst introduction ever. MrBitter, welcome to the show. How you doing?
Fantastic. Thanks a lot for having me on, guys.
Thanks for joining us. So you and I talked what seems like forever ago during a fundraiser for Matt Fink.
Yeah?
Yeah, that was almost a year ago, I think. Feels like it.
Probably about 6 months. It was a long time ago, man.
Yeah. Yeah, it was definitely. So anyway, this is your first time on this show, proper. So welcome. And as always, you know, we've got tons of questions from you, from Team Liquid, from Reddit, from our own forums, and of course, you know, I'm sure Kyle and I just have our own questions we're going to ask you. So let's just, you know, kick it off, start talking to you. I guess the question you have to ask everyone that comes on a show about StarCraft is where did their handle come from? So your real name's Ben, but to many of us, you're known as MrBitter. Are you just a very cynical man? Do you have a negative outlook on life? Where did the name come from?
No, So the backstory. I get this question quite a bit, obviously. So the backstory behind the name is it's a family, kind of like a family joke, right? My dad and I have always sort of goofed around with each other, call each other names. You know, he calls me Jack. I call him Dick or whatever. But once upon a time. To really get to the bottom of the MrBitter name, you have to go way back to my dad's brother, who is like that crazy, cracked out member of the family. No offense to him, but he's a little bit loopy. And he's always been in and out of trouble and has had issues with substance abuse in the past. And one day, he got a little bit influenced and decided that it would be a good idea to try to go to Canada and steal a bunch of live turkeys and then try to bring them back across the border. And
like we all do.
Of course.
yeah, so he gets to Canada, he gets the turkeys, and he comes back across the border, and he's stopped at customs, and he's getting ready to go across. Like, oh, okay, sir, welcome back to the United States. Have you been in contact with any livestock or agriculture? He's like, nope, just going home. And around that time, you hear the right little turkey sound coming out of the trunk of his car, and customs agent is like, what was that? And he's like, I don't know what that was. I didn't hear anything. And of course, there it goes again. And the customs guy is like, is that a turkey in your trunk? And my uncle's like, no, of course not. Why would I have a turkey in my trunk? Customs guy's like, sir, you're going to have to step out of the car. And he gets him out, opens up the trunk. It's full of turkeys. They, feathers and turkeys jump out, and they're flying everywhere. Uncle goes to jail, calls my dad, says, hey, Dave, I got thrown in jail again, and I need to get bailed out. My dad's like, what'd you do this time? And my uncle tells him, well, I got arrested for trying to smuggle turkeys across the Canadian border. And my dad's like, this is my dad describes the story as the most bitter thing he's ever heard. So ever since then, when my dad would call me Mr. Bitter, or when I would call my dad Mr. Bitter, it was kind of in reverence to the story of my uncle. And that's where it comes from.
That has got to be the most epic backstory to a handle we've heard on StarCast. that is fantastic. I've never heard anything so absurd.
Certainly schools I was 12 and I was in computer lab and I didn't know what else to do kind of story. So congratulations.
Well, yeah, the good old. I was watching an episode of Gundam and.
Yep, that's it. My uncle tried to steal turkeys, and then when he got thrown in jail, my dad said that was bitter. And that's where it comes from.
Man, there has got to be much, much worse things people have tried to smuggle across the Canadian border than turkeys. You think
but it's still highly illegal.
Yeah, apparently. So, the moral story to everyone out there listening, don't try and smuggle turkeys from Canada. So, there is that. So it's a new year. Do you have a good Christmas, good holiday, all that jazz?
Had a wonderful holiday. I got to go home and see my family for the first time in almost maybe more than a year. First time I've been home since I left to go to Germany way back in whenever it was. So
gotcha. So where is home for you? I'm assuming it's pretty far north if there's a Canadian border story.
No, I'm from Georgia, southeastern part of the United States. I don't know why my uncle was up in Canada, but
gotcha. All right.
It adds that extra little bit of depth to the story, I guess.
Okay. Did he live in Georgia too?
He's like displaced. You never really know where he is. You'll just get a call from him randomly.
Okay. All right.
He's like, hey Ben, I'm in Minnesota right now.
Okay.
It's like, oh, okay. Well, nice to hear from you.
If he went all the way to Canada from Georgia, he really wanted turkey.
That was a long high.
Yeah, indeed. So, all right. Well, that's great. Do you have any like crazy Christmas rituals you have to do? Like for me, like I have to watch The Grinch every Christmas. You have anything like that?
My family watches the Griswold Christmas Vacation story, with Chevy Chase and all that.
Yeah, that's another one.
It's my dad's favorite Christmas movie, and my mom likes to go eat at Waffle House on Christmas Day.
Oh, nice. Okay, so you're acquainted with all the wonderful change of Southern food franchises like Waffle House. I'm sure you have Cracker Barrel in Georgia.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. Cracker Barrel.
All right.
It's another family favorite.
Wonderful. I love me some Waffle House. Oh, great, man. Great to hear. So let's get into some of the questions that the fans asked. For your fans, you have fans. Did you know this?
There's a couple of them.
So, got a lot of questions, obviously, about casting. So, the first question wanted to ask is: someone asked, did you ever consider playing at the early stage, or was casting always your goal?
Oh, that's how I sort of started, man. I never really wanted to be a commentator. It was never a goal of mine, period. I started out playing the game and hosting a little coaching show from my bedroom where pro players would coach me. And I went to a couple of MLGs and I did never particularly well. I got like 3 or 4 rounds into the open bracket, and I would get knocked out. But I wanted to be that guy. I was like, oh, sure, I could go pro. But then, of course, you come to that realization that being a pro player is super, super hard. And my show actually sort of took off, and that's how I got into casting, because people who had seen my show said, hey, maybe this guy could do some commentary for us. And I got an invite to come work at NASL for 1 week during their first season, and then after that I was hired to do an MLG, and then after that I was flown to Germany to work at ESL for about 8 months.
Very cool. Now, one of the questions that I remember seeing thrown out there a couple times was in reference to your first show. That was 12 weeks with the pros, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And people were a couple times I saw this. People asked, was it your intention to do that to try and get noticed for casting, or was it just
no, man,
just because you wanted to do a show?
That was way back when coaching was like this new sort of phenomenon, and there was actually a lot of really polarizing opinions in the community saying, "Oh, it's stupid to get coaching," but you know that a lot of people are kind of thinking about it. They're on the fence about it, and I wanted to get better at StarCraft, and I've got a background in athletics, and the way you improve at athletics is to get good coaching or get good tutelage. So I was like, well, I'm all for this, and I hired In Control to coach me a couple of times, and I asked him if he cared if I streamed it. I was like, hey, you care if I stream this just so that other people can see what it's like, what it's all about? And he's like, no, sure, that's a great idea. And for whatever reason, it was the first time anybody had ever streamed a coaching lesson that I know of, and I promoted it just a little bit, and a lot of people showed up to watch it, and they liked it, and I was like, wow, people are into this, let's do it again. And it just kind of grew from that, from being something I was just going to do for the hell of it to being something I did a lot of. And it was never about getting a job, it was never about commentary. At the time, it was just kind of about giving a little bit back, letting people sort of follow me in this journey to learning how to play StarCraft.
Well, it worked out quite well for you.
It did. I'm certainly not complaining.
That's badass. So it's funny too, because now you see so many people streaming their coaching. I've watched Axelov quite a few times, although I haven't seen him doing it recently. But he has quite more stuff on his plate now. So commentating, there's a lot of commentators out there. A lot of us, from the fan side of things, we have our favorites and stuff. But I mean, it is a job. So, and a lot of times, I think what people don't think about is like the trials and tribulations of your job. Because I have a day job and stuff about that I love, stuff about that I hate. So, what are like some of the common troubles and problems that you think casters kind of face on a day-to-day basis that a lot of other people don't really think about?
First world caster problems.
I'm so done with that first world problem thing. Damn it! I just want honest people. Should have a right to critique their lives openly and not have people be like, oh, first world problems.
When you reach the point that I've gotten to in my career, it's a sweet job, man. I have a really great job, and working at the NASL is superb because there's a great team of people around me. I've got some excellent colleagues who are all very talented and very knowledgeable. And our job is to show up and to know the game of StarCraft and to create exciting, compelling content around StarCraft and to put on a hell of a good show. And there's really not a part of that that's not fun or that's particularly difficult. The hardest part of our job is going out there and finding shit to talk about, and there's plenty of it. The tribulations come in that time between starting and getting to where I guess I am. The guys that are casting daily cups or weekly cups week in and week out for little to no recognition, oftentimes for no pay. That's what's hard. But then you reach a lucky few of us reach a certain point. We get that one big break, and it's not that it's easy. We still have to work. We still have to know what we're doing, and everybody's certainly gunning for our jobs. So if we slack off, there's no shortage of people that are willing to come and step in for us. Mm-hmm. But it's also not like it's not digging ditches,
Yeah, that is for sure. and I'm not sure that there's a lot of physical labor involved in there.
I had to move a desk today. It was very strenuous.
Oh, damn.
Well, and you do have your voice to protect out there. I mean, you are up there talking for hours on end. It has to be physically wearing.
It can be, but that's one of those things you just sort of learn to deal with in the profession. Like one of my first big events was IM Guangzhou, and I totally blew my voice out there. And you just learn how to sort of regulate yourself and how to prepare for it. This last year we had there was an MLG followed by the Battle.net World Championships, followed by DreamHack Sweden, followed by the NASL Finals, and I worked all 4 of those events back to back to back to back. Long days in each of them, lots of casting in each of them, but my voice was fine, and it's just because you learn after doing it for a certain amount of time how to not overdo it, you know?
Yeah.
Is there a lot of people have been saying, there's a lot of downtime in these events. Certainly we want you, caster, to have a break. You just got done talking for 2 straight hours during those matches. Is there any content that you think should be produced during that time, or NASL is working to produce? Downtime?
Did you watch our fucking finals? Are you kidding me?
Well, true.
Come on, man. The other event organizers around the world need to do a better job of eliminating that downtime. We actually pride ourselves a lot on the fact that when you tune into an NASL event, you're watching content from the time you tune in to the time you turn off the show, and you're not just sitting there staring at crowd shots and stuff. So it is the responsibilities of the organizers to put on proper shows. I mean, we've been doing this long enough, and esports has grown to a point that it's big enough that it doesn't cut it to just put on a static camera shot of an audience. You need to be pushing stuff out there to your viewers.
You also just ran through a list of all of those events you casted back to back. And of course, going into the new year, one of the big questions is there oversaturation? And what is NASL doing to climb on top of that? Because of course you guys want to be the best, the one and only left.
It's not about being the last man standing. We do want to be the best, and I'm obviously incredibly biased, but I think when you look at the show that gets put on, the broadcast itself, I think that we are the best. When you start talking about live audiences and things like that, you have the DreamHacks to compete with, and MLG certainly does a great job in certain cities. But the show itself, I will argue that we're the best, hands down, all day, every day. Is there a problem with oversaturation? There has been, yes. Everybody wants to host StarCraft tournaments, and every weekend of the next year is pretty much booked up. But there are things in motion behind the scenes, and a lot of people working together to make sure that oversaturation is less of a problem, and to make sure that there's a unified storyline told throughout the course of the year.
That's good to hear.
Yeah. And on the subject of giving NASL due props, I love all of the segment filler things you guys have. I love that stuff. I really wish we'd see more of that from other tournaments. So as we're talking about NASL a little bit, we don't have a release start date for the next season, correct?
Next season starts in April. Okay. I couldn't tell you the exact day, but it'll be Heart of the Swarm, and it will be a new format, and it will be in April.
Cool. So that was going to be my next question: are you guys making the jump to Heart of the Swarm? So just answer that. Are you stoked about that as a caster, or just as a fan of the game?
Absolutely, man. I think Heart of the Swarm is a ton of fun. I love the fact that we're going to basically have to learn a new game. I've been starting to play more and more of the beta, and it's awesome. It is so awesome, and it's like new things happen every single day, and it's going to be the level of play, it raises the skills. It pushes it so much higher than it has been. So you're going to see more separation in the best players and the good players, and you're going to see more, I think, consistency at the highest level. So guys I don't know who's the best player in the world right now. Guys
Life.
Life, will be more prone to winning back to back to back to back versus having him upset by some random guy in the round of 32 of the GSL.
Yeah. Oh, cool. So you're pretty well known as being unapologetically Zerg heavy. That's kind of your race of choice. Now, with Heart of the Swarm, is that still the case? Or are you just getting in there and like, oh my god, look at this brand new box of toys, or the shinies from the other races kind of taking your attention?
When it comes to playing the game, I'm a Zerg player. I'm incredibly excited to see what happens with the metagame and the other races, and just how gameplay and combat changes. But I mean, I don't really have any plans of changing how I play the game. I love the Zerg mechanics, and I plan to continue playing Zerg.
I think you just made Kyle's heart grow a couple sizes.
That day. Do you think there's going to, I mean, not asking for any names certainly, but do you think there's going to be a group of players who are pros now but can't make the switch? Is it that different of a game?
No, the best guys now will be the best guys in Heart of the Swarm, will be the best guys in Legacy of the Void, will be the best guys in StarCraft 3, Well, maybe not that far ahead.
I think they'll be dead before StarCraft 3 ever comes out.
But I mean, those skills all carry over. I mean, the best Warcraft players were the best StarCraft players, the best Ruber players, the best StarCraft players, It all carries over. So what will happen is these middle-of-the-road players are going to end up falling off because of, like I said, that separation. The gap is going to widen, and so these mid-tier guys that are never really winning anything but always just kind of in the pack, you might see more turnover there as they realize that it's harder and harder for them to compete.
Yeah, I can see that. So, are there any players, though, that you think, and anyone that hasn't really had a huge success yet, are there any players that you're watching you think is going to have a big breakout performance in 2013?
2013 is going to be cool because with the release of Heart of the Swarm, we get to see the resurgence of those really creative, exciting, fun play styles, right? I mean, TLO made a name for himself with his wonky play back in the beta.
Oh, yeah.
I think we'll see some of that in Heart of the Swarm. Is Galaxy the Zerg player that I'm trying to think about? Dan? Galaxy the Zerg player?
Huh?
Galaxy plays Zerg, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I watch so much StarCraft, I get it all mixed up. But Galaxy's a guy who plays, even today, a really wonky style of Wings of Liberty, so I'm really cool. I'm kind of stoked to see what he does. And I'm incredibly excited to see how the Kespa players transition into Heart of the Swarm, because I have loved every second of Pro League, and I think those are the best players in the world, and I think it's just a matter of time before they completely separate themselves from the pack.
Yeah. Do you of the two big Korean tournaments, GSL and Pro League, do you have a preference between the two?
They're a different kind of competition. Pro League is a team league, GSL is an individual league, Pro League is best of one, GSL is best of X, kinda. Yeah. So it's hard to really distinguish them that much. I will say that the best of one format is so exciting in Pro League that it can lead to really exciting upsets, and for me that can sometimes make for a better viewer experience.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that at all. So another question we got was, are you happy with how esports is panning out in general right now? If yes or no, what would you like to see improved in the future?
I'm obviously incredibly happy. Being in the position that I'm in, I get to see a lot of the behind-the-scenes stuff that doesn't filter down to everybody else quite so fast. So just knowing what's coming, knowing the things that are in motion and the powers that are at play, it's like, wow, man, 2013, 2014, 2015, there's a lot of incredibly exciting things on the horizon, not just for StarCraft, but for esports, the entire esports landscape as a whole. Like, we're really entering this era where esports is becoming kind of mainstream, and we've reached a point in like the history of gaming where if you talk to 25 and under, or maybe even 30 and under, I'm talking about people's age, males and even females, like, massive percentages of these people play video games, right? Everybody that owns a cell phone has played a video game of some kind, right? So the saturation of gamers in the world is huge. But the percentage of gamers that even knows about esports is tiny. Infinitesimally small. So the room for growth of esports inside of the bubble that is gaming is just massive. And as esports gets more exposure, you will see more growth. And you're going to see a lot more exciting, fun, amazing events and games and stuff. It's going to be. I'm really happy. I love where we're going.
Yeah, you mentioned seen some things behind the scenes, and we know that Blizzard is being a little more active this next year. Is there any information on that you can share?
Yeah, I could share a lot of information on that. I don't know if I would have a job in the morning.
Sure.
Oh, come on, you don't work for Blizzard.
I do work for Blizzard. NASL is a direct partner of Blizzard Entertainment. And,
are they going to send out like a Gestapo dressed like orcs to kick your ass? I don't think so.
I was on State of the Game over Christmas, and I was having a conversation with those guys, and my cell phone rang, and it said, "Ben," or it was a text message. It said, "Ben, stop it now." So.
Oh, that's great. That's
so,
wonderful.
The Blizzard is getting more involved, and I can tell. What can I say? I think at the end of this month is a really big meeting between Blizzard and some important people, and you guys can probably expect to see some news late January, early February.
Gotcha. Have you gotten to play around with Kyle? What did they change the Dota name to?
Blizzard All-Stars.
Yeah, that's the one. Have you gotten to play around with that at all? Does that look like it's...
Man, I keep asking about Blizzard All-Stars every time I talk to those guys, and I get such a different range of answers depending on who I speak with. One day it's like, "Oh, this game is great. It's almost ready to be to go into beta testing," and then the next day it's, "Well, we're hiring a new, person to fill this role on Blizzard All-Stars." So I don't really know the state of Blizzard All-Stars right now. I'm very curious about it myself because a lot of the talks that I've heard about, Blizzard is saying that they want to build this to be a big successful esports title. So I'm really stoked to see where it goes, but I have not been able to put hands on it, not recently.
There we go, Kyle. That's why we're not getting PvP in Diablo. It's all their manpowers go into balancing Blizzard All-Stars.
I don't even know how many people are working on it. Like they are so tight-lipped about All-Stars. So
yeah.
I mean, and this is to me somebody that's like talking to those guys on a regular basis. So if they're being that tight-lipped to me, then there's no telling, exactly what's going on behind the scenes there.
Yeah, well, I mean, rumor has it that their StarCraft team is pretty dang small in the grand scheme of things. So I would assume an offshoot of the StarCraft team would be even exponentially smaller. So I guess time will tell.
Time will tell, indeed.
So, back to some of the fan questions. How do you feel about foreigners versus Koreans at the moment? GSL Seeds, Pro League, etc.
I think the Koreans are clearly better. Just to be blunt, I don't think there's much question in that. The very best foreigners can sometimes win against Koreans, but I don't think there's a non-Korean player on the planet that can consistently win against the best Koreans.
There's a lot of opinions as to why. Do you think it's that cultural difference that makes them work harder to strive to be better, or something else?
It's got nothing to do with the culture. It has everything to do with the development of their esports society, right? I mean, you've got guys that have been living in a dedicated training environment for a decade now. That's not a Korean culture thing. That's like a gamer culture thing. It's the same reason that United States athletics is so much more developed in the Olympics than athletics in, I don't know, Luxembourg, arbitrary place. We have for so long been so focused on building the best athletes in the world that's where we are. And the same can be said of Korean esports people.
Good way to look at it. The culture thing is the word culture is thrown around so much when you're looking at foreigners versus Koreans. Another one. Who's your favorite Brood War pro gamer of all time?
I was a huge fan of Brood War, and back then I played Protoss, and I liked Best, I liked Bisu, I liked Stork, I liked Jengbi. Those guys were awesome, but I would be lying if I said my favorite was not Flash, because he is a legend, man. He's the best to ever play the game. And I think that it's just really a matter of time before the same can be said of StarCraft 2.
So, were you disappointed that he didn't make it into Code S?
I was disappointed, but I was very happy that MC made it.
I know this is the. I was just looking at everyone who qualified, and it's crazy. We've got MC back in. We have Kyle. You should be happy. DRG made it back in, and then we had Huck and ST just qualify.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I feel like I'm back in like late 2011. What's going on with GSL?
I was happy to see MC qualify because of a couple reasons. One, he's such an incredible personality, and two, because he's just a good friend. You know, I really have a high opinion of MC, and I hope that he does well this season.
Yeah, he's definitely a fan favorite over here, big time. Any plan? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Kyle.
I was just going to say the same question you were. Any plans to do anything outside of commenting for major SC2 events?
I think that person meant to write commentating.
For events that aren't the North American Star League, no. I have a lot of, roles here that aren't necessarily on camera. So the whole team here is always doing a lot of stuff kind of that you don't necessarily see. So yes, in that regard. No, in the scope of 2013 non-NASL work.
Sure.
Gotcha.
Is there anything that you would like developed as a caster for these games? I mean, we have the new features with like pings for Nidus Worms for the observers.
The biggest and the most sought-after request that I make whenever I talk to the developers at Blizzard is I want to be able to back the camera out a couple more inches, right? I want to zoom out further so that you can have a bigger, field of view of what's happening on the screen in front of you. Other than that, they've really given us all the tools that we need, and in Heart of the Swarm, I don't know if they've made official announcements yet, but they've made some really cool announcements about observer functionality, and it's going to be a lot of fun setting up all the stuff for broadcasts in Heart of the Swarm.
Well, certainly we're looking forward to the custom graphics and everything else you guys can do to pretty up the field, but I guess I can understand why the zooming out feature, because someone could like manipulate it, and I remember the whole fiasco about moving Diablo 2 into a higher resolution because of PvP problems.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. For a broadcaster, anytime you limit our ability to manipulate the camera, that's frustrating. So,
yeah,
give us more control over the camera, and we can put on a better show.
Would you like to see even a lower pitch, because you can zoom in and it'll kind of
yes, of course, yes. Off. Give me absolute free. Let me fly around as a little 343 Guilty Spark.
There you go. I want helmet cam on all the little Marines.
Yes, absolutely. Give me a GoPro on the back of a Zergling.
Of course, then I guess I'd have to actually program in a sky, which I don't think currently exists.
Ooh, I love that camera angle in AVP1 where you could see through the alien's mouth. That would be great.
That'd be that'd be bouncing around a lot on a speed line.
Well, sure.
Yeah. So we reaching the end of the fan questions. So chat room, now's your time. If you have some questions you want to ask, Bitter, here, start sending them in. We'll be cutting and pasting them into the doc here. We got a couple just delightfully off-topic questions, though. If you could steal one thing, Mr. Bitter, one thing at all, hopefully not a turkey, without consequences, what would it be?
I've always wanted to rob a bank.
Really?
Seriously, man, I've always wanted to rob a bank. I used to, what was that Keanu Reeves movie, Point Break? I used to think that was just the coolest thing ever. So I think one day when I'm old and retired, I'll try to rob a bank, and if I'm successful, I'll just give the money back, and hopefully they won't throw me in jail for the rest of my life.
Just make
is this an
anonymous donation back to the bank.
Is this a one-man aggressive heist, or is this an Ocean's 11 team job?
I can't say that I've really fleshed it out that much, but the whole Point Break philosophy of just, shock and awe, get in and get out, I liked it, man. I think that it's really a doable thing. And I've had a lot of friends that are cops, and they've told me some interesting things about the rules of how they're allowed to, pursue criminals and stuff. And I'm convinced I could get away with it.
Are you sure your friends who are cops aren't just feeding you false information? Man, I hope Ben goes down to the Bank of America and tries to knock it over, man. That'd be hilarious.
I I can't say, man. That would really suck if my buddy.
Oh, that's good. That's a good answer, though. Kyle, I'm just curious. What would your answer be?
Oh, something if I could steal one thing without consequence, man. You know, I don't know. I've never stolen anything, actually. I've worked as a security guard in the past.
Stolen the hearts of millions.
There we go.
There it is. You worked as a security. You're not an intimidating-looking man. How did you ever work as a security guard?
It's the camera. I got a good 6'4".
You're also a string bean, dude. I mean,
yeah.
I could snap you in half. Oh, that's great. This question must have gotten asked, I think, on every avenue we took questions from. Can you do a good Hearthstone impression?
Man, okay, so here's the truth about the Dutch accent. It's impossible to replicate. There is not a non-Dutch person on this planet that can do a Dutch accent. You can listen to Hearthstone or Rhett or Rotterdam or Grubby. You can listen to these guys talk for hours. But it is impossible to recreate the Dutch accent if you're not from the Netherlands. So I cannot. I can impersonate Hearthstone impersonating me, but I think that's just talking like myself.
Oh, wonderful. Should just have you sing Katy Perry then, because that's what he did for us when he was on.
Well, and to be fair, there's not a lot of Dutch movies. I mean, we have Sean Connery running around, our token Scottish voice, so we just haven't had much practice growing up.
Dude, it's the weirdest accent. Like, the only thing that I can think about that distinguishes it is they pronounce the TH sound funny. But there's other stuff in there, too. It's very subtle. So
yeah.
I've tried and tried and tried to impersonate Kevin, and I never get it right.
Yeah, it's a shame. If anyone's wondering what the hell we're talking about, after the show's over and we post it over on the site at thestarcast.com, check out the show notes. There's a link to Hearthstone impersonating MrBitter at Home Story Cup if you didn't see it. And it's pretty funny.
It's haunting.
It was haunting. When I heard it, I was like, I had to do a double take because I was like, wow, that's me.
But I sound pretty good.
Well, and what's creepier, the fact that he can do it or the fact that he's probably practiced it?
Arstom's a buddy of mine, man. We used to practice together when I was living in Europe for a little while, and then he just got way too good for me.
He's in the shower practicing his MrBitter impression.
That makes it a little more creepy. The shower dynamic.
Well, you go in there, you sing, you practice impersonations. It's a safe zone.
Hopefully the adventure stops there.
With any luck. With any luck. Another question we got was who's your currently your favorite Zerg player?
Everybody knows I'm a huge Nurchio fanboy. I have really enjoyed watching these new upstart superstar Korean Zergs like Hyun and Life. Those guys are incredible. And if we want to talk about non-Koreans, you've really got to give a lot of love to Snoot, as he's really kind of Snoot has sort of risen to the top of the non-Korean scene, and he's done it without playing a brand of Zerg that we're used to seeing. He plays his own way, his own style. And that is the coolest part about his success. It's not standard Zerg. It's Snoot Zerg, and it's amazing.
Cool. So, but still Nurchio all the way is your all-time favorite?
Course, man. All day, every day.
All day, every day. Some of the questions we got from chat room. One person asked, did you have the occasion of using the open source XSplit that has been developed called OBS, Open Broadcast Software?
I have not, but Frodan has been talking about it a lot, and he says it is incredible. He endorses it. I'll be playing with it some in coming weeks. Apparently, it's the best thing since XSplit, guys. It's free. It's not a resource hog, and it allows you to stream at like 60 FPS, which is something you can't do with XSplit. So
nice.
I've heard nothing but good stuff about it, and I will use Dan's endorsement to recommend it to everybody. Go check it out if you haven't already.
What do you guys use at NASL? Do you have like a TriCaster setup?
We have a very, kinda, sorta. It's not all TriCaster. My boss actually gets a little bit territorial when we start talking about the equipment we have because he wants to keep it all kind of secret. But it's a proper studio setup. So
gotcha. Okay.
It's That's it.
Don't want you getting more texts during the show.
Well, the other half of that answer is I don't know the name of half the shit in there, so
there you go.
I couldn't tell you if I wanted to.
All right. I don't even know what this question means. What happened to Rotterdam with the group of zombie Chinese women? There's zombies in China?
A couple of them followed him back to his room that night.
Oh, okay. They obviously were hungry for flesh.
Yeah, they were hungry for something.
All right. Everyone's in the all right, chat room's starting to yell. Where do you see esports in 10 years?
Hopefully, so I don't know, man. The goal that I've always had is to be able to go home at night, put my feet up, turn on the TV, and watch a fun, exciting match of my favorite game. And it's at the point now where I can do that. So 10 years from now, I would like to see the players making a lot more money and on a lot broader scale. And I would like to see more saturation, more esports exposure to gamers and to non-gamers, but just like a broader awareness, I guess.
Gotcha. All right. Chat room is going by too fast. Someone keeps asking about a dolphin.
I wish that I could tell you something about a dolphin, but I have...
All right, here's a not absurd question. 12 weeks with the pros, not necessarily 12 weeks. Is there any small chance that the show will ever make a resurgence in some way, shape, or form? Like 2 weeks with the pros?
I would advise all of you guys to go check out Chanman V. He's been doing the Coach's Corner for far longer than I ever did my show, and I dare say far better. He is consistent. He creates great content. He gives a lot to the community. He's working with Razer to give out stuff. He gave away a lot of gear over the holidays. And he's just a great guy. Chanman was actually one of my students when I was coaching, and he's kind of grown to fill that niche, and I think he deserves a lot more attention than he gets. So if you want to watch 12 Weeks of the Pros, you can go watch my old VODs, but you could also just go watch Chanman's show to get much more timely information. That's a hell of a lot more well-presented than it was when I did it way back when.
Is that Climbing the Ladder?
Climbing the Ladder, Coach's Corner, it's Chanman's show, man. Just go watch all Chanman stuff.
Gotcha. Yeah, he does really good stuff. And really consistent, which is great.
Now, but you do have a new show starting up this Sunday, in fact.
Yeah, the NASL is hosting an esports talk show, and I dare say it'll be the first actually properly done show in the space, because it's a show on a set, produced. It's going to be awesome. It's called The Pulse. We start Sunday 7 p.m. Pacific. That's 10 o'clock Eastern time, and it's far too early in the morning for any of you Europeans, so I apologize. But please tune in to the VODs when we put them up on YouTube. As chat says, will it be better than the Good Show? It depends on how you define it. It will be more produced than the Good Show. It'll have more content than the Good Show. It will not have James Harding talking about titties and beer, but it'll have lots of good stuff in the context of esports.
Well, I heard you guys are also taking advantage of some of that technology you developed with the live voting, so it should be a pretty fun live show to catch.
It's going to be awesome, and yes, there will be opportunities for chat to interact through voting or through other ways, and who knows, maybe we can give some stuff away to people that do well.
Cool. You guys need like a Roku app or something, so I can just lay in my bed and catch your VODs. That's one. I cannot believe there's not a Twitch app, so I can just watch everything that's done on Twitch.
You want to vote from the shower? It's all right.
Let's not come back to the shower. Can we not
cast your vote by tuning in live?
There you go. Do that. So, very, very cool. Well, Bitter, I know you have stuff to do. We don't want to keep you very long, so we'll go ahead and let you go. Anything else you'd like to promote, pimp, yell from not very high mountain?
I just want to thank you guys for having me on the show. Once again, The Pulse starts this Sunday, 7 p.m. Pacific. There's there was a question somewhere in chat where I'm going to scroll up until I find it. Because some guy says, as an NASL Season 1 subscriber who watched every game but haven't watched since then, what would the best reason that you would give to subscribe to the next season of the North American Star League? My answer to that question is we're producing the best StarCraft show that there is, period. More content, more games, more of everything. So tune in to the free show. See what you think, and I promise you that that the pass is going to be well worth it. Now, those passes do go on sale, I think, this Sunday, or maybe they're on sale now. Go to NASL.tv to check it out. Follow us on Twitter, twitter.com/NASLTV, twitter.com/MrBitterTV, /Greetorp, /Frodan, and /Rotterdam08. That's it.
Well, very cool. Thanks so much for coming on, dude. We had so many people so excited for you joining the show, so it's been a pleasure talking to you.
It's been a lot of fun, guys. Thanks again for having me on.
Have a good one.
Best of luck over the next year.
See you.
All right. So it's just one more time. Make sure you go and tune in for NASL's 2013 season.
Yes, but don't go anywhere because we have patch, we have esports news, and other things to talk about as well.
Yes, indeed. And first things first, need to fix you in the overlay.
Yes, first things first, let's give our editor some work. Let's let him take this out, cut it down a bit.
I'm going to try this new open source software and see if it can help me deal with problems like this.
Yeah, well, they need those preset or setup screens at any rate. But that's exciting to hear that NASL is working so hard to continue to be above the other guys.
Yeah, definitely. I'm stoked for their show now. Makes me jealous because I want a set.
It's interesting to think that 2 years ago, what we were calling nasal continued
what
to
you
grow.
were calling nasal. I refused.
I
refused. Every time we brought it up when they first showed up, I distinctly remember saying, I refuse to call this nasal. I'm going to call it NASL. Nasal sounds stupid.
It does. But, I mean, that's why you need to, when you have a kid, you make sure his name doesn't rhyme with anything stupid. I mean, you gotta work at these things.
Yeah. Yeah, indeed. So, anyways, let's get into the news of the week, everyone. There was a big earth-shattering patch this past week. Well,
sure.
Actually, yesterday. Not even this past week. It's a day old. You and I actually had a chance to play it the day it came out, which is so rare for us.
Well, so rare for the server as well.
That too,
a bit of trouble at the beginning there, but actually Blizzard was quite on top of it. It was ready to go that night. And, well, let's dive right into it here. First things first, Reapers no longer require a Tech Lab add-on to be made.
Yeah, just so everyone knows the little, view into my life. I'm out to dinner with my buddy and my girlfriend last night, having a nice Italian dinner, and I just get I'm like, all right, I'll check my phone. I don't usually do this. Reapers no longer require Tech Lab. Siege tanks no longer require research of siege mode. And at the dinner table, I just go, what the F? And people look at me, Katie and Mike, like, what? I'm just like, siege tanks don't need to research siege mode, and I can make Reapers right off the bat. And neither of them play StarCraft, so they're just looking at me like, what the hell?
Cool, man.
Yeah.
But to the rest of us, this is big news. However, to calm everyone down there, particularly in podcast land, if you are not aware of this patch, there's been a lot done to the Reaper in addition to that. So the Reaper no longer has battlefield awareness, which allowed it to see up cliffs. Which is great, in my opinion. As a Zerg that would have to get lings on the bottom and the top to catch this damn guy, I can surprise him, at least when he's coming upstairs.
Yeah, which I fell victim to the other night, and you saw because we were playing twos.
Yep.
I saved one of them. One of my Reapers lived.
On top of that, we have the Nitro Packs upgrade removed. However, they did get a slight movement speed increase, so kind of landing in a middle ground, so you no longer have that upgrade to get in the first place.
Right.
And most importantly is the P45 Gauze pistol now does decreased damage. So it used to do 4 plus 5 to light, but now only does 4. All by itself, just 4.
Yep.
No bonus against light.
Yeah, no, they're really hammering their, a worker line harassment vessel and a scouting thing. A scouting thing. It's very technically here.
Of course. Well, the scouting thing is the important thing about this, because there is no... this says to me that Blizzard went, well, we're done. We tried forever. We tried for 2 damn years to try to get you to use Reapers in like a mid-game, late-game, let's mess up the base situation, but it wasn't happening. And now with the Reaper on the barracks, it's a scout. I don't see any reason why anyone would build anything different. With Queens and their improved range now, that's not going to change much in a TDZ position. Of course, you're probably going to lose maybe a drone or two. The damage isn't as ridiculous. Certainly if they get about 4 together, they're still going to be schooling pretty hard, as you did last night in our 2v2s.
Yep. Yeah, that was awesome. That was so much fun.
TVP will change a little bit, particularly with the slight mothership. I mean, that doesn't have anything to do with cloak, but still, or mother core. And TVT, I'm expecting a Benny Hill-style action field where Reaper versus Reaper action happens for the first 10 ridiculous minutes. Maybe even so many Reapers get made that you have to counter them with Hellions, making the first 20 minutes of TVT stupid.
Scratch Benny Hill, man. I think we should get a hallway full of doors and Scooby-Doo this shit.
It is a bit like that, particularly without the combat awareness. We're just jumping up and down.
Yeah. Chat room's kind of getting on it. Yeah, your sound quality's kind of steadily going downhill. I don't know what's going on with the internet. If you're maybe downloading a bunch of porn.
Or it could be 8 o'clock in Chicago, and everyone just logged online to download all their favorite shows.
All their porn.
Let me see if I can do anything about it.
Okay.
Would you like me to rejoin the call?
Sure, why not?
Okay.
Well, I'm just going to try recalling Mr. Kyle here. Stand by. Oh, Skype. I love you and hate you. Anyone else in chat room have a love-hate relationship with Skype?
Better?
Sound a hell of a lot better.
Good. Excellent. Well, let's turn on this camera here, and if it goes back down, we'll go without my lovely face for one evening.
Yep, happens. Happens indeed. But yeah, you sound good, you look good. I mean,
I feel good.
As good as your crappy camera can look.
Yes. Well, we're working on this. Upgrading the show takes time and money. And
yeah. Nittany Lion in the chat room hit the nail on the head. Skype equals your abusive boyfriend that you just can't leave.
Oh, it's true.
Especially if you do podcasting.
And he sold out. Even worse.
I know. God, that ass. He was in an awesome punk band. Now he does pop music with One Direction.
Well, let's continue on with the Hellbat.
Yeah. So they got a attack speed change. It's up by 0.1. Slightly faster. The Infernal Pre-Igniter upgrade no longer increases Hellbat weapon damage. The Napalm Spray weapon damage is increased from 10 plus 9 versus light to 18 base with a plus 12 versus light. So pretty hefty weapon damage increase right there. And then the splash damage radius was decreased from 110 to 45. So massive reduction there on splash damage.
Yeah.
Which begs the question, I mean, why? Because, I mean, the whole thing, the reason they're supposed to differ is they have a bigger frontal cone, whereas the standard Hellion mode has a very focused frontal stream that passes through enemies. So this confuses me. They're becoming less unique.
That's the odd thing about it. It seems like they're being more focused into that tanking position because of their health, because of their bio status.
Right.
Is my internet going again?
No, you're good.
Okay, good.
No, I'm still a little hazy, so if I look down, it's because I'm trying to re-water my eyes.
Oh, still getting over your sickness?
Yeah, I'm fine. Just still on medication. It's weird. Anyways.
Well, we saw some. We had some reports from pro players over the break. We had Idra, well, not so much weigh in on, but we had DeMuslim weigh in on the current state of Terran before this patch. And he doesn't use Hellbat at all, mainly because the Hellion fills this role in the first place. So we're getting this big decrease in the splash radius. Hellbats needed a nerf, but we're still kind of trotting that extra ground. And it's a shame Bitter, did have to run along, because if there's one question about this balance that I really wanted to address with him is there too much overlap? I mean, here we have a unit that transforms into almost the same unit it was now, particularly with the splash radius reduced.
Yeah, I mean, it still has splash, and there's been no change for the attack distance, so it doesn't still have the same range, like the penetration that the standard Hellion does. So there's still a differentiation, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's less unique now, in my opinion. Granted, it's still considered bio, can still be healed by medevac. But I know, me personally, I barely use them too. So
sure, and it's also just a strange unit at the moment. It's not one of those things that kind of even pops in your head when you're driving around with your Hellions real fast getting stuff done. Maybe I should transform these back here. We haven't seen the pro players use them enough to know, do that behind the mineral lines. Do that. I mean, just all that weird stuff we've learned over the past 3 years. I mean, even Infestor usage till a year ago, pretty silly.
Yeah.
Hellions until Dallas.
And then, Infestors. I'm looking forward to seeing less Infestors in the new year. Medevacs. The Caduceus reactor no longer improves the healing rate of medevacs. The upgrade cost has been decreased from 150 and 110 seconds to a 180 seconds. So that's good. I'm sure the Caduceus reactor, how it previously was just a little too much of a buff, and I kind of think it was. I played around with it a little bit, and it seemed
it was powerful,
pretty damn powerful. Yeah,
and I mean, just the ridiculousness of what Marines could tank. However, with the ultraless buff, it wasn't such a big deal. But then again, it made you go ultras in late game in the first.
Yeah, kind of forced the tech path.
And of course, with the conversations going on in Blizzard, we have another rename of this ability.
Well, not this one, but emergency thrusters. It has been renamed to Ignite Afterburners. Yay! So exciting.
Kind of like emergency. It's an ambulance after all. Ignite Afterburn. That sounds like we're landing. We're going into space.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, those afterburners are the things that go like psh, 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 so you can like land on the moon, right? Or is that after you drop the big tank and you like do your extra rocket into space?
It makes you go faster. Afterburners make you go faster. Anyway, let's not linger on a name change any longer. The Raven, because you can't stop tickling the Raven with changes. The Seeker Missile, the energy cost has been decreased from 125 to 75. Big decrease there. Primary target damage has been reverted from 300 back to 100, and the Seeker Missile once again deals splash damage. And then finally, the delay time prior to firing has been increased from 3 to 5.
Yes, interesting. So a fresh Raven with the upgrade can cast this twice. I'm not sure at the exact moment, as this did come out yesterday, if that means you can drop both these delayed missiles at the same time and have them sit in front of your Raven waiting to be fired. If so, that's pretty good. You can just kind of run in and prepare the nukage. Otherwise, you're sitting there, it's taking up your barrel, and it's still an odd place. Again, same with the Hellion here. Terran right now is just suffering from a lot of repeat units. Splash damage. It's a huge deal. Like in strategy games, cleave, splash, like that is the bread and butter of winning a match. And Terran's swimming in it right now.
I'm trying to think what. Yes. Trying to think. This is siege tank, nuke, seeker missile, Yamato, Thor. Yeah,
Widowmine.
Got a whole lot of splash, and Widowmine.
Hellbat.
The Widowmine is so horrifying. I keep putting it from my mind. That has become like the new target. Like when medevacs show up in the back of my base and everything pops out. It used to be maybe you'd see like a sprinkling of tanks, and it's like, oh god, kill the tanks before it seizes up. Now it's, oh dear god, kill that mine before it burrows.
Yeah.
Especially when you're another Terran and you have all your clumped up Marines. You're like, shit, if that thing burrows, my Marines are dead.
Well, we'll get back to that in a moment here with Protoss, but Next, the one I hinted at the beginning of this episode. Tanks no longer required an upgrade to enter siege mode. So no longer will you see that big force pushing off across the map when you realize your 6 tanks are worthless because you forgot the upgrade.
Yeah, this is a big change. I'm really digging it as a Terran player, really liking that. Oh, okay, I've got a tech lab on my factory. I'm good to go. Let's do this.
It's not a big deal to me yet, but mainly because I haven't played enough to feel that extra 45 seconds hammering at my door.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good point. Yeah, I mean, we're only 2 days into this now.
Because it's not that big of a deal in the grand scheme of things on a map. But then you start thinking, well, now that upgrade's gone, that's extra tanks that money is now spent on, more tanks made in the first place, other upgrades that could be upgraded at that tech lab during that time. It could get to be a big deal, but in like a TVT situation, both forces are so slow that if you see the guy leaving his base and you've had the forethought to get tanks and you've had the forethought to research that ability, it doesn't really matter when they get there. Clearly, a lot of these changes are affecting TVP and not so much a TVZ. And TVT is just going to become a weird ass place for a couple weeks while this gets ironed out.
Yeah. Yeah, indeed. And God, turtling. Chat rooms makes a good point. You know, you're going to get much faster turtle Terrans.
Yeah, we also have extremely strong air options, though, for Protoss. And certainly with the Muta upgrade and other things, there's ways to deal with these new tanks.
Yeah, that's a good point. God, yeah, you were... was it this week, Liz, Monday, where you're saying, like, your Mutas just won't die? So you've been having a problem having a supply for your Ultras late game?
Oh, well, you want to throw them away, but they just keep going, and they'll survive that turret hammering them. I mean, really, it takes about 2 Thors to take them out, which we learned tragically last night, that the Thor change to make them smaller has given them a huge buff, because a bunch of Thors can squeeze into a relatively small area, causing the DPS to rocket upwards.
Yeah, that size change, man, that's ridiculous. My Marines were just like, oh, crap.
It used to be one of those, I mean, if you could get a surround with your Zerglings, you surrounded 2 Thors, maybe. Yeah. But now with them all squeezing together, that same space occupies about 4, and they can take it.
Yeah, you're getting less surface area with your Lings now. I mean, granted, last night, that game was weird. That guy made way too many Thors.
Yeah, well, he was into it, clearly.
Yeah, which inevitably led to their downfall, because you and I were using cheap units, and they were using super expensive units. But... That's that. Let's talk Protoss. You've been playing a lot of Protoss this past week. The Vortex ability has just been completely removed from the game, from the mothership. It's gone, stricken.
Honestly, is anyone surprised?
Well, after they changed it, it was just such a... It was stupid. It was boring and lame and meh.
Oh yeah, you're right. I completely forgot that Vortex became a single target, slight banishment. An exile to another realm.
Yes, you have been banished to the Nether Zone.
Now, what I did come up with, which would be really cool for no apparent reason, is if you vortex that unit away, and then it came back later, and you could warp it in. You could warp in an Ultralisk you banished, but it would have like a big old probe in its head, like that video of the sloth wearing his little hat. And there he is, controlled by the Protoss from now on.
Okay, the Mothership Core has the Envision ability. The Envision ability has been moved to the Oracle, and Kyle killed his camera again.
It's my foot, man. I'm sorry. I'm gonna fix this. It's a new year. I vow to fix my camera.
Wonderful.
Yes, the Mothership Core loses Envision, loses its detection. Huge deal. Because there was an option for us who really enjoy High Templars, Archons, DTs, particularly with all the attention on getting early DTs right now. I guess it's fair to say that, you don't get detection if you go DTs. There should be a downside to going straight for Blink Stalkers and other things like that. And hell, you can get a Forge along the way if you really don't want to get that robotics facility or starport. But it's still kind of tragic. Granted, the Mothership Core didn't help me jack against Widow Mines, because the range on that thing is pretty small, and by the time you actually get in sight range, you're being hit by a Widow Mine. And Mothership Core, I mean, it can't even take 2 Stalkers, let alone a single Widow Mine hit.
Those things are really...
It can take 2.
They're made of friggin' paper, man. It's insane.
Well, they're a flying caster unit you get at tier 2, or really tier 1.5. You shouldn't be complaining.
That is a good point.
And now the Oracle is sporting the previous Envision ability.
Yeah. Yeah, so they swapped abilities.
Yeah, and now we have Time Warp on the Mothership Core.
Let's do the time warp again
It's
on the
cool.
Mothership Core.
It's cool because that seems like a very sort of Mothership ability. Warping time and all. Seems like a powerful thing to do. And
Will it turn into a blue police box when it does it?
Yeah, time and space. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's solving mysteries through time and space, though.
Well, is it at least bigger on the inside? Come on, give me something.
It's got to be. All those ships got to be. You think they got like 100,000 people on a battle cruiser of that size? Doesn't work out.
Yeah.
The Oracle, it's odd to put the Envision ability onto it, because if you've played with the Oracle, you know that thing murders. Straight up murders workers. Thousands of them.
Yep. Unless you're Kyle last night in a 2v2. Guys, I watched him just fail miserably with his Oracle.
Well, I'm also going from playing with 2 Oracles from 20 Mutalists, so what are you going to do when you're off racing?
Indeed.
But I mean, you have other abilities you need that energy for. Maybe that's the idea. That it should be more of an exchange.
Yeah.
It seems odd, and if you're gonna go straight gate units, you're gonna have sentries, which kind of overlap with Time Warp, because you're restricting movement, you're causing things to get stuck, move slower, not have good surface area. It's gonna be real powerful in combination. I mean, can you imagine well, I'm a Zerg player, so what am I gonna do here? But think Zerg, you're running in, the army's coming, there's like 2 Immortals, 3 Sentries, and a bunch of Stalkers. And you're like, all right, Zergling time, mass Zergling. You run in, and they do all the force fields. Okay, big deal, you run away. Then you run in again, force fields, big deal, run away. But on top of that, you're moving slower, and every time you try to run away, this flying jackass lays a big pile of slow on top of you.
Yeah, no, I can see where that'd be infuriating. So have you been experiencing this a lot? Is this like a first-hand experience complaint?
No, we haven't gotten yet to a weekend since this patch, so I have not gotten to play too much 1v1. But I'm foreseeing this, and it looks dirty. Oh. Did I lose you? Did we lose Garrett, chat room? Or did we lose me? Or can I not hear Garrett?
I muted myself.
Oh,
Go
okay.
me. This is such a... You can tell it's the first episode back after like a 3-week break. I'm just like, what? No, don't tell me my internet's dying.
Straight on to Zerg then. Ignoring the fail.
Yeah. Infestor, the fungal growth damage has been decreased from 30 plus 10 versus armor to 30. Just 30. Because the nerf wasn't enough, I guess, already.
Yeah, because making it a projectile wasn't enough. Getting rid of all the upgrades on the infested Terrans wasn't enough. I mean, really, I have no problem with the new Infestor. It's great. In fact, this doesn't really affect too much in the first place because it's still an all-around great unit. I mean, in my 1v1s, I almost always go Swarm Host Infestor, because combining Fungal, which is still quite wonderful in Heart of the Swarm. In Wings of Liberty right now, it is crap. That thing is slow and has jack for range, but in Heart of the Swarm, it's fast, has a huge range of 10. It's still a great skill, so this doesn't affect too much.
Yeah.
I guess they just want people chain fungaling big armies.
Real quick, I was trying to see if they had this, and they do. David Kim did give us a breakdown on some of these changes, and on fungal growth, he said, and I quote, we've been seeing fungal growth become less effective in Heart of the Swarm. However, we've wanted to push this ability out a bit further for reasons stated in previous situation reports. We feel that the most necessary core use of this ability is fighting against Mutalists, so we're trying a general downgrade against all armored units to see how that goes.
Mutalists. I mean, that's a big deal, but you gave Mutalisk regeneration, you gave him a speed increase, and you made the projectile for the Infestor. It doesn't seem like you're trying to counter Mutalisks.
Yeah.
Well, the naming committee struck again with Mutalisk. So Mutalisk regeneration has been renamed Tissue Regeneration and has a new tooltip and improved clarity.
Wonderful. Everyone go blow your nose with a Mutalisk.
I like to imagine that there's some guy that, that guy that always brings up conversations either hours or days later, and he's like, well, what if we called it? And like, no, Steve, sit down. We've already made the damn ability. Oh, but what if I'm not using the medevac in an emergency? What if I'm doing it offensive? Well, I guess that makes sense. Fine. It kind of happens. Way to go.
All right, I'll give you that. It's a good one. Let's talk a little esports. It's a new year, and there's a lot of roster changes. A lot of people leaving teams. A lot of people joining teams.
Because it all happened at the same time, it wasn't quite as dramatic or looked into as normal roster changes are during the year. We assume because it's a new year, people want to move around, find a better spot for themselves to camp out for 2013.
Yeah.
Contracts.
Yeah. So the big one that kind of caught my eye over the past few weeks was Parting, who a lot of people know is kind of my Protoss of choice. He left StarTale, which I did not see coming.
Yeah.
As with a lot of the big Korean news, there's almost always an interview that happens over on the site This Is Game. On an interview with This Is Game, it said that on the third StarTale released they released a press release stating Parting left the team after his contract came to an end and is pursuing to join a new team. No word yet on what he's going to be going to.
No, not yet. Of course, a lot of these Korean pros secretly say, well, I'm hoping for a American or foreigner team that is active in the Korean scene because they want some of that sponsorship money and support that certainly we have.
Yeah. I mean, if you're new to kind of following esports, and since we've recently joined the Frog Pants studio, I'm sure we have new listeners. Korean teams historically do not have salaries for their players, whereas a lot of foreign teams do. So we're kind of seeing this exodus of Korean players from Korean teams.
And while we touched that topic briefly, for new listeners, esports is a very big beast to try to learn all that. It's a lot of names to get into. And of course, if you've just been, tooling around being like, all right, StarCraft, I enjoy it from time to time. It can be a little scary to approach. But have no fear, because around the launch of Heart of the Swarm, we are going to be kind of taking a step back, doing some more sort of general talk about the game and getting everyone ready for Heart of the Swarm.
Oh, indeed. And there will be a campaign roundtable to follow.
Exactly. To enjoy the campaign for all it's worth. And, my big news, or the person I was really excited for anyway, in the roster changes was Major. He's been a guy I've been watching for really since the Blizzard World Cup, but, heard of him beforehand. And I just loved his play he showed in that competition. But he has left Root after just rejoining them for a third time. It got a little confusing, and Root seems to support his decision. But he said a while ago that his one dream was to join Team 8, and he did it. And it's kind of shocking. It's like, is he dying? Is this his Make-A-Wish Foundation?
Oh, dude. Oh, that's terrible.
Well, it just seemed like 2 weeks earlier he said, you know what I'd really like, and then it happened.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. And so now he'll be able to participate in Pro League. What was it? They said in one of the articles he was, I think, the first Hispanic player to join a foreign Korean team. Or not, a Korean team, not a foreign team. Blah.
No, it gets confusing, yes, because we're the foreigners, but we live here.
Right. I'm getting my terminology mixed up.
Sure.
But, yeah, this is really big for him. That is just awesome.
It's big for everyone.
Well, yes. But Kyle, do you think it's bigger for you than it is for Major?
Okay, it's bigger for all pro players. This news, in the grand scheme of my life, doesn't affect me other than to get me excited for him.
Yeah.
Sure, you want to break it down like that. I mean, we're talking about video games here, sir.
Yes, indeed. Supernova left MTW. He said, "I wish to join a team that is both active in Korea and overseas, such as EG or Team Liquid." Also in an interview over at thisisgame.com. And then finally, another one that really surprised me personally because I'm a fan is Polt left TSL. He's going to be studying abroad here in the U.S. So
Yes.
he'll still be playing also while he's here. At least that's what he said. He will still be playing for the time being. I'm sure giving a lot of people in the CSL heart attacks. Since if he becomes a college student here, he will qualify. And
True.
shortly after Polt leaving TSL disbanded.
Yeah.
Which was a big story. So, which just sucks.
Well, it's always really dramatic to hear about a team disbanding in the first place because all those players you loved, they got to find new homes now. But this is also a Korean team, which has been around for quite a while.
They've been around since beta. I mean, you and I, since we didn't come in from Brood War. We started as StarCraft 2 fans. So when we started watching esports, we got into it on the ground floor with StarCraft 2. So to us, TSL's been there from the beginning.
Yeah.
And they've, when I was first getting into it, I'm learning names of like the teams. When I thought esports, when I thought teams, I thought, IM, TSL, MVP, Prime, they were just one of the mains, so to see him kind of go under, it really just sucks.
It's strange too because we go through these different modes throughout the year where we have too many teams, people always switching teams, someone's off a team, someone's on a team. But whenever we have, and recently we also, had other Korean teams disband completely, things seem a little dark over there at the moment.
It does. I mean, I feel like we're still in the shadow of Slayers disbanding.
Yeah.
Granted, there's a lot of collateral damage and after fire and drama, but yeah, I feel like we haven't really bounced back from that. Now TSL's closed, and chat room, OGS is another one that went under. It's been a little longer, but
well, and Sodajo in the chat room says, "I think Korea has a lot of drama we don't see," and it certainly seems like that. And particularly after Slayers, because we had those people come out and say, "I was being abused in this situation," and then a lot of attention is further put on foreigner teams who are going, "We have great players, but we're kind of trying to make some money here. We're not an adoption agency."
Yeah. Yeah, that is true. So, yeah, it's just curious to see where all the players are going to end up. I wonder if Polt's going to join another team when he gets over here.
This whole situation is making things really hard to follow, and I'm a little envious of football fans who get to have an organized draft each year.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't... I immediately think about all of the other incredibly well-documented drama of football, though. It's do I really want to hear about a Roethlisberger-type drama from the StarCraft scene?
Sure. I mean, we've all had, well, not to that extreme, certainly. Nothing that bridges any real legal ramifications yet in the StarCraft scene. Yes, we do have Stefano Soda Pop, who brought a knife onto a plane, apparently.
Oh, yes, I forgot about that.
It takes a picture of it in the laboratory. Okay, well, sir.
We've all... I mean, how many times... I mean, we've all done this at least once where you have something in your pocket you don't even think about, and you go on the plane, and they stop you excuse me. What is that?
And
what do you think you're doing?
Stop. But, I mean, there's been times, you just go through, and, maybe the guy at the little terminal blinks, or, maybe the system doesn't work. Maybe you didn't take off your shoes long enough. Who knows? But you managed to get through with a water bottle, and you open your bag, and you're like, well, how the hell did this get in here?
Yep.
I mean, I've had a knife in my bag accidentally.
Funny story. This is going to get off topic, but it's the first episode of the year, so it's time to get off topic because we haven't yet, at least not horrendously.
In 2013.
Right. What did I say?
What? Say? No, you didn't say.
I thought you were correcting me. Anyways, I had a girlfriend at one point who, her and her friend were getting on a plane, and they got stopped because they had a little bucket of Play-Doh in their purses. They each had Play-Doh in their purses.
You mean C4?
Yeah, well, Play-Doh. like red and blue Play-Doh, and they stopped and like gave him a bunch of crap, like, oh, so you can't bring this, like, I forgot it was in there. And it was just like, why do you have Play-Doh on you? And it's because we all went to art school, and I think it was Hasbro had come and done a presentation. They were looking for people, so the people went in, watched the presentation, submitted resumes, and they gave everyone Play-Doh. They said Play-Doh sitting in their freaking purse. So yeah, there's my little story.
I even remember back in 2003 when they got rid of plastic silverware on planes, and I was like, I've got a laptop. I mean, if I really want to have at someone, I've got options. I mean, freaking, tweaked audio cords. Like, let's get this done. If you really want to jack someone on a plane, you're not gonna get out your Play-Doh.
Well, it could have been explosives. So
could have. So could the gum in your pocket.
Zombies in the chat room. Do not give these people ammo. All right, let's do that. So esports did not stop while we were gone. There's some results of some tournaments.
No, to slightly our surprise, because this was a huge blackout month last year. In fact, in the previous years, GSL kind of struggled to pull something together. This year, they were like, oh, well, we have Blizzard Cup. And all the other tournaments said, well, we've still got stuff going on, too.
Yeah, I mean, Pro League had already started for their 2013 season. We had Home Story Cup 6. And early into the new year, we've already got GSL Code S qualifying, happening. So I guess first up, let's talk briefly about Blizzard Cup. It's old now, so we're not going to spend too much time on it. We had Zerg player Life winning the first spot, winning 4-2 over Parting, my personal favorite Protoss, which I got excited. I was like, oh man, I'd love to see Parting win again. Alas, he did not.
Life's unstoppable.
He is a force of nature.
I don't know what it is, man. He embodies so much energy, and in his play, he is just sporadic and constantly going.
Yeah.
It's a sight to see.
And then following close up in the third spot, I looked at the the top 6 at the Blizzard Cup at the GSL. And I just feel like it just was an echo of like the last 6 months of StarCraft, because number 3 Leenock. I mean, of the top 6, 5 of them were Zerg. So there you go. So just so much Zerg. Life's number 1, Party number 2, Leenock number 3. So we're seeing consistent placement among those who have been kicking ass all year long.
And, I mean, is it just me? I feel like when I'm watching these games, I'm like, make some Swarm hosts. Like, I can't get HOTS out of my mind right now. And I'm glad MLG announced this week that they're picking up, as we just heard from Bitter. NASL is picking it up immediately. So we're making a very strong transition to Heart of the Swarm very soon.
Right. It's not going to be some fluffy thing where like, oh, these guys haven't jumped on board yet, and these guys, no. It looks like everyone across the board is like, if Heart of the Swarm is out at the beginning of this tournament, we will be playing Heart of the Swarm. Yeah,
and it kind of takes away some of the weight of these matches, because I feel like everything's about, well, particularly, I am a DRG fan, so all I see is, DRG got beat. Not if he had those mutas. He's going to do it.
Well, he didn't get beat. He did qualify for Code S, so.
Sure, if we're not talking about the Blizzard Cup here.
Right.
Where he got smacked in.
Yeah, indeed. Then we had a Home Story Cup 6, where we kind of talked about it a little bit already with Bitter. Snoot, Zerg player, 4-0ing Symbol. One of my personal favorites. I really am a big Symbol fan.
Yeah, Snoot's a new name to me. I mean, it's something I've heard completely over and over again over the break because of his performance at Home Story Cup here. That's Soul Dojo. I'm just going to call you Soul Dojo. That sounds right to me. Snoot Skywalker, because he does look like Luke Skywalker.
Oh my God, he does. Yeah. now that you mention it, but yes, quickly after becoming the latest member of the Team Liquid roster as well.
Yeah.
So, grats to him. So yeah, and then a lot of Zerg. It's just all Zerg in the top 4. We got Symbol, X-Lord, and Stefano.
Well, and Home Story Cup, of course, is a tournament that takes place in a dude's house, so it is a credible tournament to win. However, most people tune in for the ridiculous and drunken antics.
Oh, dude, it's so much fun.
In fact, I remember last year, I think it was MrBitter telling Rotterdam to not do a backflip, or it may have been someone else. But either way, someone was wicked drunk on stream.
Well, the thing. That's the thing about esports growing. I hope we don't lose things like Home Story Cup.
Yeah, well, that's been a topic of discussion a bit over the break as well. We had some articles come up about, players being personalities, and how are we going to find that balance moving into the future?
Yeah. Oh, you're talking about that In Control blog post, aren't you?
Well, In Control's had a lot of quotes on it. I'm particularly talking about the Armchair Athleticism article. I'm not sure exactly off the top of my head who the author is.
I think that was In Control.
No, he was just... most of his quotes were from In Control.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. So, yeah. I mean, I don't know. What do you think? Do you think... obviously, we don't work in the scene, but... do you think events like Home Story Cup, these kind of homegrown... where we get to see this really personal view of the competitors and the casters, do you think these things are at risk if esports gets to NFL status?
This works into things we've talked about over the past 2 years. The idea of the old boys club, a lot of Brood War players who have, grown the SC2 scene actively, and these are our big heads of our group, and they're going to have friends, and a event like Home Story is a great event for fans to have that kind of interaction with their players. However, I am envious right now of the Korean scene, where if you ain't got the skills, you're not on the radar. And a lot of people are competing for jobs in the scene that, and naturally being a pro player isn't really a job. It's a performance. I mean, if you're not performing, you don't have a job anymore. Whereas, you can kind of do other things on the side if you can't play StarCraft up to snuff.
Yeah.
So it's going to be hard, particularly with Heart of the Swarm. We are going to have a lot of players, rocket forward, those ones who can really adapt, and we're good at Wings of Liberty, move into Heart of the Swarm, become even better and more incredible. I mean, play styles will completely change, and some players will just disappear. It's going to be really hard. And as a fan of the scene, it's just going to be hard for us to see these people struggle, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
To watch them, flounder. And I'm concerned about that for the scene, too, because it's going to draw a lot of negative attention.
Are you talking specifically about the old dogs, like Brood War players and stuff like that? Or are you just talking in general?
I'm just talking in general. But we have over the past 3 years, we've had a lot of big established personalities. Yet after 2 years, some of those personalities are wonderful personalities, but as players, they have waned. And I don't know if they have the skills to make the adaptation for this next patch.
Gotcha. Well, I mean, some of them can go on to become casters.
Absolutely. And there are
or fill other roles. Hopefully we'll have more studio shows like the Pulse and stuff like that popping up.
Well, sir, and that's going to formalize this exchange of information, just as our show formalizes for a different group an exchange of information. I mean, this is, kind of grassroots community talk about the game and the esports scene, a bit more open. And, the world needs these kind of shows. But we also need those formal shows where things stay a little more focused. And we need things like Home Story Cup, where we can have that breakdown, casters drinking, people just having fun in the background, watch Stefano make lunch. These are great for the scene.
Yeah.
But we can't have that all the time. And a lot of people, and, we've seen this over the past year. I mean, remember Orb? Remember Destiny? Like, these people have left our radar because they caused a lot of drama and the scene's growing without them.
Sir, Destiny has never left my radar. I wake up every morning and use him as an example of the kind of person I don't want to be.
Yeah. Right. Person who says, I'm League of Legends now, well, I might come back to StarCraft, LOL.
Depends on if the money's there.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. I'll keep talking about games because I enjoy them.
Exactly.
So, yeah, got a little philosophical and heavy there, Kyle.
Yeah, excuse me. Pardon me. But while we're kind of on that a little bit, predictions for the next year. I mean, what would you like to see in 2013?
I wasn't prepared for this.
It's a big question, but, just kind of a gut reaction. We have a whole year to prove ourselves wrong or right.
I would just like to see overall production quality improvement. Now we're already seeing that. Like GNOME TV's already kind of bumped up the stream quality of their of their live stream. But
and they did a great thing saying this was for you and because of you. So GNOME TV certainly taking good steps into this new year.
Yeah, granted, dear God, their old quality was crap.
Yeah,
like just garbage, inexcusable crap. But unfortunately, it's like the best tournament ever. So, have to watch it. But yeah, luckily that's getting better. But like Bitter said earlier, you can't just in between games you can't just have a panning shot of a crowd. I don't want to see that at like MLG anymore. I still want to see a little bit of it because there's nothing more fun than like MLG. I can't wait to see the crazy signs.
Exactly.
That's something I'm looking forward to. But I don't need 30 minutes of it between games.
Yeah.
Like get it. I don't know. Like, obviously, I'm not running things in MLG. It's a lot harder than just like flipping a switch. Okay, let's do that. But like, get stuff lined up, create filler content. Let's not have a repeat of the Blizzard, the BattleNet World Championship in Shanghai. Let's not have a repeat of that.
Yeah, that was straight up awkward last year. And if you missed out on it, Blizzard hosting this event made some bad calls or seemed to make some uninformed decisions about their technical crew.
Yeah. Leaving it in the hands of untrained monkeys is what I think they did.
Certainly. And, now after GOM TV, kind of gave their magic fairy touch to IPL, everyone went, well, IPL was wonderful because of GSL.
Yeah. Also, chat room just made me think of one more thing. Can we just clone Adebisi? Clone him and make sure he's at any and all events. So we've got a really good observer going on. The dedicated observer. Let's not make our casters observe.
Yeah, and I feel like with certainly in between content, that's something that's going to be overall production quality increase.
Yeah.
How do we? And the big thing for me is we need to grow the scene with people. We need people interested. How do we do that?
Sex, man. Alcohol and boobs.
Yep. We just got to sell this baby, Got to make some real snazzy trailers. No one really knows what happens in the movie, but you want to see it.
That's how football does it, right? They just get, they got the cheerleader. I don't know. No, do not do that. I don't know, man. I mean, obviously, if higher production quality, it's going to look more professional. More people will give it the time of day. I don't know. Do you have an answer to your own question?
I mean, certainly, I would have to agree with the chat room. Heart of the Swarm is going to bring in a lot of new people, particularly in the Blizzard franchise world. We're going to have, people who haven't played in 2 years going, okay, new expansion. I'll miss out on a raid tonight to check this up instead of, playing some more World of Warcraft or Diablo if they're still playing that.
If you haven't given up at the lack of PvP. But I just had a thought. I think one of the good things we have in our favor, though, is when Wings of Liberty came out, esports outside of Korea was just starting to kind of hit the ground floor, starting to run. They weren't at full speed yet. Now we're at a place where esports they've got it. It's a well-oiled machine. We know what we're doing. The tournaments it's pretty easy to go to a tournament site, figure out what's going on, what the format is, who's playing, where to watch it, and all that kind of stuff. So we're gonna get a lot more people jumping on board with Heart of the Swarm, and we're probably gonna have a much higher retention because of the fact that esports is at a much higher quality point than it was when Wings of Liberty came out.
Well, and I really hope people continue to acknowledge that the game is new to a lot of people, because I miss, and people accuse Tasteless of like repeating himself or not having something interesting to say. I disagree, frankly, because when he says, yeah, in this map, it's real powerful to use, siege tanks on the low ground or whatever his, canned response is for that particular map, that's fine with me every time because someone new could be watching. And
I agreed. I take my girlfriend to a lot of the events that we go to. That like if I go to an MLG, there's a good chance she's coming with me. She does not watch StarCraft on a regular basis.
Yeah.
At all. And so many times when we go to these tournaments, she doesn't know what's going on. Even with the best casters in the damn world, they're spitting it out at her. So,
and it's scary. It's a lot to learn. And a lot of people, naturally, after working a long day, don't want to spend their night losing.
Yeah. Exactly. So I don't think it's a bad thing to use, to always go back to spelling things out, like to have a caster that explains the obvious. And also, I mean, I really think the people that are like complaining about that, I think they're such a small percentage. Like the people who know like every little thing about every little map. I think those kind of people who are spectators are on such a low percentage of the demographic of people who are watching. So,
well, and with better production quality, we're going to have less complainers for one, but we have things like, well, to, tote ourselves, but, things like Carbot animation, things that are, injecting some happiness into the community. I'm excited to see those grow over next year with the release of a new expansion this game. I would also have to agree, quite frankly, with Blind IO in the chat room who says, let's see a more unified league system.
That would be wonderful. I don't see it happening soon.
No, and it's tough for a new expansion to be coming out in an age when so many different competitions are competing to be the best.
Yeah.
I mean, if I worked for one of them in particular, I would think it was the best too, and I'd want it to be the best because I got a job there. So it's it's understandable.
I'd build a suit of armor, plaster whatever the logo of whatever tournament I had on it, and then go attack the other tournaments.
Basically, good.
War. That's what I want to see. I want to see like NASL and MLG out on a battlefield in the middle of like Columbus, Ohio. Just leave the White Castle.
I would also really like to see that Super Bowl thing get established this year.
What was that? Sorry, one more time. I was reading chat room. I'm sorry.
I'd want to see that Super Bowl event get established at some point. That event we can all say, people, look at this. And we have them, but again, we have them. Many.
Yeah. Yeah, indeed. We got too many of them. But I don't know. Last year, I think I look at the Blizzard Cup and say, okay, I think that's it, because the people who won are the people I feel like would have won an event like that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, man. That's that. Send your emails, man. Send your predictions. We want to hear what you want out of the 2013 year. That email is starcastshow@gmail.com. And we'll take those as long as you send them in.
Indeed. And we waxed off there in between, but last bit of news. GSL Season 1 of this year has started. And ST and Huck advanced to Code S, along with DRG, of course.
Yeah. Yeah, it's looking good, man. We got some really good names in there. I can't flippin' wait.
Also, we had the longest game in GSL history at 1 hour and 30 minutes. Byron versus Hero.
Beyond.
Beyond, right.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Oh, man.
In a ridiculous game that the Terran could have ended at any point.
Yes. Yeah, that's pretty absurd. That brings us to the end of the show. Chat room, if you have any questions for Kyle or myself, send them now or forever hold your peace while we wait for that. Big thanks to everyone who left us a 5-star review in the iTunes store. Old Bronze Guy, thank you very much. JJ Flans and Tech Guy 121, thank you very much for your 5-star reviews. Those help out this show so much. Get new ears, the podcast version anyway. So, yeah. Johnny the Crow, long-time live show viewer. He said, same great question from 8 months ago. When he inevitably wins the lottery, Kyle, where are we going to build the StarCraft 2 themed bar?
We'll build it wherever they establish our GSL studios. right outside it. That'd be awesome. Right across the street. Everyone goes, yeah, winner, and straight into the bar.
I would personally like to build it in California, near the Blizzard HQ. So
sure,
all the guys who work on the game come and hang out at Joey Ray's.
I don't know if every time, there's lag or something, they'd want everyone, at the bar to just look at them. Yep. Be like, hey, we don't like your kind.
Instead of, in the single player campaign, Rainer's at the bar, and on the TV it says no shooting at the screens. Is someone gonna have to no shooting at the land police?
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, we'd have to model the bar after that. Get that arcade game too.
And a giant Hydralisk skull.
Yes, of course. Goes without saying.
What do you think of the MLG DreamHack IEM alliance? I talked about this a while ago. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, it's great that they are, allying together to make a unified league system.
Yeah, what do we think will come of it?
I certainly hope good storylines will come of it. And I hope that the casters research those storylines so I can hear them at the beginning of matches. Because there's a lot of downtime at the beginning of SC2, and there's a lot of talk about. I want to know why that guy fighting that guy is important. I mean, think of anime. Think of how many episodes it takes for something to happen. It's kind of like StarCraft. But you watch it because you want to see that big explosion. You want to see him fight.
I recently, finally started... I've taken the plunge and started watching Doctor Who. I've started at I started at the beginning of the 2005 relaunch. I can't do the 60s stuff. I'm sorry, diehards. Okay. I can't do it. But you just made me think of that because I don't think I just finished season 2. I don't think the ending of season 1 or the ending of season 2 would have been nearly as impactful had I not known the backstory. Had I not watched the 11 episodes leading up to that.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a couple I could have skipped. Fear Her is a terrible, terrible, god-awful episode. Holy shit, who wrote that thing? Hate it. I have killer crayons, and if I draw you, you disappear into the nether zone. Oh, man, that was like a bad Are You Afraid of the Dark episode.
Yeah, well, I mean, it is basically BBC's sci-fi channel. I mean, what are you going to do?
Yeah, but we're getting... really far off topic. Anyway, yes, I agree. I hope we get these crazy storylines. Well, this guy battled through IEM and made it into MLG, but then he won that and got into DreamHack, and this been an amazing run for this guy. I hope we get those kind of storylines where these people have started really you're going to have that person that started in the open bracket of MLG and somehow qualified and got shipped out to DreamHack or something. Well, that would be awesome.
And I hope with this unified league, that means we don't have so many open brackets and qualifiers and ridiculously long tournaments where you can't digest all that content. And I would like to see, tonight, so-and-so versus so-and-so, kung, bang, and the heads and the explosions and some graphics.
Right.
Because if you're only doing one match a night, I mean, then you have time for the pyrotechnics.
Yeah. I would not mind seeing it down to a format like that. Something that I could digest. Something I could follow literally every night live. All right, got 90 minutes. Let's watch tonight's game.
Sure, and then you can get other people in on it because you get to go. That was the game. That was awesome. And they don't go, well, what's this starting here? Oh, that's another 4 hours of it.
Yeah, finding a way to make it more digestible, I guess, would be. Another thing I'd like to see in the 2013 year. Let's maybe pull it back and get it into more bite-sized chunks.
Yeah. Well, and Cold Stuff 7 in the chat room brings up the IPL Fight Club. And like that. And certainly like the EG show matches they've been doing. But those don't hold the gravity of a league. Because you're winning, but it's props, if it's your favorite player, then awesome. Particularly if it's like an old rivalry. If you have a good story in the background, awesome. But, you want to see someone kiss a trophy at the end of the night.
Yeah. My freaking kitten I'm trying to stop him from hitting buttons. He just jumped up and decided to dance across my keyboard. Everyone say hello to my new pet, Sherlock. He has way more energy than I know what to do with, and he's kind of hard to control. So I'm just going to hold on to him firmly while we end the show. How's that sound?
All right, let's do it.
So, yeah, that brings us to the end of the show. Thank you guys very much for tuning in. And thanks again to our guest, MrBitter. Make sure you guys tune into the new season of NASL and tune into The Pulse, his new show, starting this weekend. Just head on over to nasl.tv for information on all that stuff. One announcement before we leave. We do have the new show on AMove TV, The Gamers In. That's my friend Jocelyn. That's the girlfriend of Joel Duggan, who used to do a segment for this year's show. The Gamers In, yeah, it's a general gaming podcast. They've had people from 343 Industries talk about Halo on the show, and it's just a great, nerdy, geeky show. I love it. It's a great fit for the network, so make sure you check it out. They're going to be every Friday. They'll be here tomorrow night at 8:30 Eastern Time on this same stream, so tune in and join the live chat and talk games with the Gamers In. StarCast is a production of amove.tv, and thestarcast.com is the place to go for our forums, archives, shirts, and more. That's StarCast.com. You can catch us live every Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Eastern Standard Time now, because there's been a time change. Right here, twitch.tv/amovetv. You can email us. Our email for the show is starcastshow@gmail.com. You can call us, leave us a message at 941-882-0281. Follow us on Twitter. It's at the StarCast for the show. You can follow me personally right there at Garrett Art. You can follow Mr. Kyle at Kyle Ferguson. Yeah. Wait, sorry. It's right there, pointing to it. Guys, podcast audience, you missed so much stupid antics on the video show, just so you know. Big thanks to our production crew, Octane Pro, for booking our guests, and Captain Noobing for editing the podcast version of the show so very many of you listen to. And check out Kyle and I's other show, This Week in Blizz, if you enjoy Diablo, World of Warcraft, and even more StarCraft talk.
And an extra special congratulations to Daddy Octane Pro.
Oh,
He's now
yes,
a father
dear God,
as of today.
How did I forget? Yes, Octane Pro is a daddy as of this morning. I believe he started calling his baby already Mini Pro because he's not original and had to rip off DJ Wheat. So,
well, at least that doesn't matter. The important thing is the kid's gonna have the best upbringing that you can possibly get.
No, upgrades. He's going to build an engineering bay, and he's going to upgrade his baby till he's 3 and ready for college.
Exactly. Don't forget Shield.
Yes. Yeah, well, if he's Protoss, it depends. He plays Terrans, so that would be structure armor. So, yeah, man, dude, seriously, congratulations. I'm so stoked. He names his child after himself, which means when your child is old enough, I'm going to just berate him by calling him Junior. Junior. That's what
Maybe he'll take the dog's name.
Maybe. Just maybe. So there's that. Kyle, when you're not doing This Week in Blizz, when you're not doing this here show, StarCast, where can people find you?
You can find me at Biggest Fan Podcast, where we follow the fad that's driving you mad. That is a podcast, but you can also check it live here Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern. This past week, we did Quentin Tarantino with the new Django movie. A lot of fun had there. And we've done quite a bit of pop culture recently, so we're going to take a break. Last little break we did hummus. So this time we're doing juice. Yes, juice. Like blended fruits juice. Maybe I'll make some juice on the stream. Who knows what we'll talk about? Juice. But it's always fun to have our random, ridiculous episodes.
At the very least, you better have juice to drink on the stream.
Indeed. And you can always check me on the stream as well at Tuesday night starting at 6:30 Eastern. I'm just calling it Kyle Ferguson's office hours. I'm just going to play whatever the heck I feel like, really. But if you feel like showing up, if you feel like learning Dota, this next week I'm going to be trying to teach Ben Zweifel of This Week in Blizz how to play that game.
And I might join.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. Do it, because I love that game.
Yeah, we got another week off from raiding, so.
Oh, okay. Well, definitely. Well, I hope to see you there. And I hope everyone shows up who's been interested in learning Dota or just hanging out. I mean, I have a great time streaming that then.
Yep. Very, very sweet stuff. One last shout out for myself. Check out my site, nomoonart.com. If you need stream graphics, design work, anything like that, I'm always available for freelance. I recently launched that site just before the new year. So head on over there. Again, it's nomoonart.com, nomoonart.com. StarCast.com. It's got my my portfolios up there, so you can go check out all the work I've done for this show and a bunch of other sites. Don't forget to check out our sponsors, StarCastSystems.com, TweakedAudio.com, and SC2QuoteOfTheDay.com. Our code is StarCast. If you use that code, you will get double memory on your next Doghouse Systems gaming rig. You go from 4 gigabytes of RAM to 8 gigabytes of RAM, or 8 gigabytes of RAM to 16 gigabytes of RAM, free of charge, and you support StarCast in the process. That same code gets you 30% off and free shipping on your entire order of Tweaked Audio earbuds. Look at these. I've got all these that I need to give away. So we will be doing a giveaway on the show at some point. But since we're currently running a contest that we haven't gotten a lot of submissions for yet, so honestly, if you submit, you have a very high chance of winning a free retail copy of Heart of the Swarm, given to us by DogHouseSystems.com. Again, that contest is to create a meme. You just go to quickmeme.com, whatever, of our show. Take a screenshot from the show, draw a picture in MS Paint. I don't care. Make a meme somehow based off of one of our previous episodes, based off of this episode. Just a meme, a StarCast meme. Kyle and I are going to pick our favorite meme.
Mm-hmm.
And that person's going to win a copy of Heart of the Swarm that will show up on your doorstep the day of release. So do that. The email to send that to, once again, is starcastshow@gmail.com to get yourself a free copy of Heart of the Swarm. So until then, we will see you guys next week with episode 135 of StarCast with our guest Achilles, writer for Team EG, helps run our competitive clan, Team CVO, and just all-around esports maniac. So we will see you guys then. Good luck. Have fun.
Take care.